Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Vols Society Live on this special Thursday night episode. My name is David Morrison from the Vols Society, also the lead analyst, here to talk about all things Tennessee football as we will recap the Virginia game from last week, and we'll also give you a quick preview of the Austin Peay Governors, which is coming up this Saturday at 5 o'clock on ESPN Plus and SEC Plus. Give our first shout out to Chris. First one, leaving us a like on Facebook. Make sure you're sharing out the video. Make sure you're, whether you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, make sure you're watching along, sharing it out, and bringing a bunch of Vol fans aboard. And I'll go ahead and pull this up here. Also, don't forget to visit the Vol Society store as the website's going across the bottom of the screen. You can also go to our Facebook page and click the Shop Now button. First comment going to James. James with a Go Big Orange. Thank you, James. Also, you just like James. And Miss K saying, hello, you sweet thing. Hello, Miss K, our Vol Society mom. You can be like James and Kay just now. You can leave comments. Like I said, this is part of your show. Tell us where you're watching us from tonight. If you have any questions or comments throughout the night, we'll gladly talk about it. Like I said, we'll just kind of briefly talk about last week's game and also previewing Austin Peay. But don't just keep me talking the whole time. Like I said, leave your comments and your questions, and I'll read it live on air as we get many more viewers coming aboard. Welcome aboard to Vol Society Live. All right, so we'll go ahead and kind of talk about last Saturday, Tennessee's first game of the 2023 season as they head to the state capital, Nashville, Tennessee, at Nissan Stadium in front of a record crowd for a football game. I think Ed Sheeran still has the overall record, but we're not talking about Ed Sheeran. We're talking about Tennessee football as the Volunteers defeated Virginia 49-13 last Saturday. Kind of go over some stats here. Joe Milton on the day, 21 for 30, 201 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hell, my grandparents watching along. So overall, a pretty good day for Joe Milton. Like I said, just a little slow starting off. Had a really nice deep ball, but unfortunately, Ramel Keaton couldn't bring it in. That could have easily gone for a touchdown, but just mishandled right there at the end. But like I said, overall, Milton did fairly well. Phil saying, "Go Big Orange." I bleed orange, baby. Love the Vols. Love the Vol Society from Logan County, Kentucky. Thank you for watching along, Phil. Teresa giving us a Go Vols also. Milton did very well. Did what he had to do. Like I said, a little slow off, but I think kind of everybody was slow on the offensive side. Defensive side looked really great, but like I said, everything really got clicking right before the half. Jalen Wright had a great day, 12 carries for 115 yards. That offensive line looked really great, ball fans. Really happy for this team, especially with the injury to Cooper Mays. You move Ollie Lane over to the center. I thought John Campbell looked really good at left tackle. I mean, pretty much shoved the dude in the cameraman. Kevin Huggabo giving us a Go Vols. And I thought the offensive line did very well. Jalen Wright went for 115. Jabari Small, 13 carries, 67 yards. Dylan Sampson, 13 carries, 52 yards, 4 touchdowns. Yes, James saying, how about Sampson? Dylan Sampson looked fantastic. Got the first touchdown for the 2023 season. Joe Milton threw out of the flat, found Sampson, went down the sideline in, and then 3 more touchdowns after that. Like I said, Dylan Sampson, it's funny how Joe Milton kind of won the Offensive Player of the Week, which, he had a great game, but I think Dylan Sampson probably should have had that too. But, it is what it is. Everybody contributed well. Joe Milton did have a couple rushing touchdowns along with his 2 passing touchdowns, so I guess I see why they gave him that award. 9 carries for 33 yards, 2 touchdowns. Overall, pull up the team stats here. Offensively, Tennessee was 1 yard short of 500 yards, 499 yards in the game against Virginia compared to the Cavaliers' 201. Defensively, like I said, for Tennessee, they look really great. Going back to the stats here for Tennessee, before I go to defense, we need to talk about the wide receivers. I'm getting ahead of myself. Ramel Keaton uh, looked pretty decently. I know he had the missed drop, but 3 catches, 66 yards on the day. The only receiver with a touchdown was the tight end Jacob Horn. We'll go back to your comments here. James said, I thought Milton and Squirrel would hook up a lot. Yeah, I kind of did too. I think when Squirrel got hurt in the game and at a precautionary tale, Coach Heupel kept him out. So I would love to see Squirrel really really contribute in this next game coming up against Austin Peay. I just think that injury unfortunately hurt him. He did have 6 catches for 45 yards against Virginia, but yeah, we didn't really see that big explosive plays like we thought we did. Kevin says our running backs are beasts. Defense was really good. Uh, yeah, I agree, Kevin. I mean, they look really, really good, and I'm excited to see what they're going to kind of do against some of these other teams down the stretch. I mean, we're going to face some tough competition, some tough rushing defenses. But man, if we get our O line squared away, look out. We're going to put up a lot of numbers, kind of like last year. James says 10-4. Man, I agree. Brad, let's go Vols, our founder in the chat room, joining us tonight. Yeah, try some other news and notes. Like I said, Brew McCoy, 2 catches, 21 yards. Didn't really get targeted much. I know he had a pass overthrown to him in the game. McCallum Castle's one of the new tight ends, 1 catch for 16 yards. Jabari Small, 3 catches, 13 yards. It kind of surprised me a little bit. He had 3 catches. Dante Thornton, I want to see Dante really step up in this next game. He had 2 catches for 12 yards. I really want to see him get a big touchdown coming up this weekend. Against Austin Peay, and we'll see what it goes. I mean, still early on in the year. Let's see here. Phil saying, Vols fixing to whip up some gator meat in the swamp. Yes. Yeah, Florida did not look hot at all against Utah. Uh, so I'm feeling very confident about the Gators coming up. Both of us are playing cupcake games, Phil. I mean, we get Austin Peay, Florida's playing McNeese State, and I mentioned on the podcast, which by the way you can listen to right now. Although I prefer after the show, but anytime. Anyways, I mentioned Florida's playing McNeese State, and even if Florida wins 50-0 against McNeese, you're probably not going to get anything out of that game. Kind of like you're not going to really get a whole lot of this Austin Peay game. So the next time a lot of the nation's going to see Florida or kind of remember Florida is not from that McNeese State game. It's going to be against Utah, and they did not look good at all. Brad says big game is next week. Yeah, against the Gators. Timothy watching along. He says, "Don't forget the catch Brew had in the end zone, but his foot was out of bounds." Yeah, that's true. I mean, those are 2 touchdowns that could also added on to that scoreboard. You had the drop by Keaton, really 3. You had the drop by Keaton, and then Brew was out of bounds, could have had a touchdown, and then the Joe Milton stiff arm, which once again going back to the podcast, I think Coach Hassel said, if Joe didn't hesitate and just went with the stiff arm, he could have just went straight into the end zone in that. James says 27 brought back memories to Al Wilson. Not as big, but sacking machine. Yeah, James Pierce had a great game, couple sacks in that game. And yeah, number 27 in comparison to Al Wilson. I hope Pierce has a great season, great start so far. Him and Tyler Barron really wreaked havoc against Tony Muskett on Saturday. Let's see here. Brad says, so great to see LSU, South Carolina, the Gators going down, and then Kevin adding on Clemson. Yeah, tough go around for the Palmetto State in South Carolina. Every South Carolina college football team this past weekend lost, from Clemson to South Carolina, Coastal Carolina, and then some of the smaller schools like the Citadel and Furman. I think they all took losses, and then you add on LSU. Just got probably Coach Brian Kelly needs to watch his words next time he says something about Florida State, as they ran it all over him. And then Clemson, as Kevin mentioned, very poor performance against Duke, turnovers galore. And Brad says Clemson is done. The Dabo and who knows? Dabo may be done with that team. Miss K says, I remember Congress during my high school years. What an improvement with Milton. Yeah, this weekend, uh, a pretty cool weekend. I know we talked about the Smoky Grays and had the debate of the Smoky Grays, but a really cool thing Tennessee's doing this weekend with their Smoky Gray uniforms. This Saturday will be the 51st anniversary of when Congress Holloway became the first black SEC starting quarterback in the SEC, and they're wearing a tribute uniform. They're wearing the Smoky Grays with the orange shoulder well, not shoulder pads, but the with the orange shoulders. Very reminiscent of when Congress Holloway played during his time. So really cool. Really excited to honor Congress Holloway. This is the second time that they've done a tribute uniform to him. Back in 2004, Tennessee wore kind of a more similar style. What Congress wore when we opened the season against UNLV. So, like I said, Congress Holloway, a trailblazer, not only for Tennessee football, but for SEC football, and just a living legend and beloved all the way around. I mean, you know, he has his number retired at the baseball stadium, a college baseball Hall of Famer, college football Hall of Famer, just a all around great athlete. James says, could imagine Peerless Price with the arm of Milton? I mean, it would be I'm sure Peerless would probably be right there at All-American status, and it's kind of one of those what ifs, with Josh Heupel's offense. If he had some of these ex-players on his style, and maybe like, kind of mix and match, and if Joe Milton played on that 98 team. So it's kind of one of them great good what ifs, James. He says always looking forward to what this year's team brings. Yeah, absolutely. And I think this team, it's going to be a little different not having Hendon Hooker, not having Jalen Hyatt, but you still got a lot of key players still involved. I mean, all your running backs come back. Most of your offensive line are back, with the exception of Darnell Wright. Uh, your wide receivers obviously lose Hyatt. You lose Tillman, but we've seen what Brew McCoy did in the Orange Bowl and really all last year. And then Squirrel White really kind of broke out in the last couple of weeks. You had the transfer Dante Thornton. I mean, it's really exciting to see what this team can contribute. But any other questions or comments? This is doing good so far. I mean, for a Thursday night. This says I was super. Okay. What do you mean? Let's see. I was super. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha, super. Okay, cool. Tennessee beats Florida by 14 or more from Brad. Super press fire run. Yeah. Okay, I got you. Now we're getting. Yeah, running game look really good. Really good there, Timothy. Just I want to see it continue to prove on, and hopefully when Cooper Mays gets healthy, look out. Bryce says Tennessee beats Florida by 14 or more. It's looking that way. Phil says everybody's down Joe Milton, but Joe Milton's just going to be fine. We got Nico, and the Vols is going to be fine. Yeah, I mean, I think Milton's going to be good the rest of the way. Like I said, Joe's going to. I think there's going to be a lot of comparisons with Hendon to Joe Milton, and it really shouldn't be a comparison. And it's not to downplay Joe Milton too, but Joe's going to do what he's going to do, and I don't think he's really going to hurt himself or this offense. And like I said, even with Nico, I want to see Nico run the offense the way, obviously, what Josh Heupel provides him. But I don't want him just to be a carbon copy of Hendon and Joe Milton. I kind of him to want to be his own quarterback. Same thing with Joe with Hendon Hooker. Let's see. Kevin says, I hope we see our subs early to play this game. Yeah, I do too. We talked about that on the podcast. It was, kind of surprising we didn't see Nico earlier, and probably like some of the other guys. I think we should see them quite a bit early against Austin Peay. I just think, a little, I guess a little just hesitant, I guess, with Virginia. I don't know. It was kind of weird. Let's see here. Uh, James says, "Got to run. God bless from Little Old Andrews, North Carolina." Thank you, James, for tuning in. Enjoy the game on Saturday. Bryce says, "What's everybody's score predictions for Saturday?" Timothy says, "I'm perfectly content if we don't open up our playbook until we have to. I don't want us to be predictable." And then he added 63-0 for his prediction score. Yeah. Um, I think we'll probably see it open up a little bit more, but I think, you don't want to open too much against Austin Peay. You still want to keep some tricks in the bag when you go against Florida, when you go up against South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia. So you're not going to see everything exposed out on film. I still think it's very kind of vanilla, but probably a little bit more deeper passes. I'm sure Milton wants to get that one big deep pass in before he goes down to the swamp and get the fans fired up, if you will. Let's see. Kevin says 70-10 go Vols for his score. So, I mean, it's been a long time since we've scored 70. I think the last time we scored 70 was against Louisiana Monroe in 2000. But this Josh Heupel offense could do it, and here's your chance to do it against Austin Peay. And I guess we'll kind of somewhat transition to Austin Peay here. Not much to expect from Austin Peay. They went 7-4 last year, 3-2 in the Atlantic Sun, which somehow they end up splitting an Atlantic Sun championship with a 3-2 conference record. Go figure. Scotty Walden, one of the youngest coaches in college football. He's only 30 years old. But last week they lost to Southern Illinois 49-23 on the road. They're led by their quarterback, Mike DeLillo. I guess that's how you say his name. Threw over 2,200 yards last year. Got a pretty decent running back in C.J. Evans. Went for 600 yards last year. Didn't do much last week against Southern Illinois. And then their linebacker, Tyler Loans, had 15 tackles last week. So, like Brad says, nothing much more than a scrimmage Saturday. Yeah, you're right. I mean, my advice is if you're going up to the game, which by the way I will be at the game on Saturday, so I'll bring some coverage for Vol Society for y'all. If you're going to the game, have a good time up there. I will say that you're not going to have a super amp up rowdy crowd. You're going to have uh, more of a family friendlier crowd. So if you want to take, this is just my personal advice here. If you want to take the kids to a game or take the family to a game and don't want to deal with a bunch of drunk yahoos, this is probably the perfect game, especially if you're going to take a kid to his first time Tennessee game. Take them, and this is just my opinion, and you can do what you want to, but kind of take them to a smaller game first. Not only you get a chance to see them to win, but at least it's a little bit. You're not going to deal with a bunch of rowdier fans, maybe compared to like a Georgia or an Alabama game. This is just you're going to see a lot of that, and just like I said, just have a good time with it. Let's see here. And like I said, I'm my score prediction is going to be Tennessee 55, Austin Peay nothing. Let's see here. Miss K says it's amazing how our fans are always there, no matter who we're playing. Always there, best fans ever. Yes, you're right. Even during the down times when the attendance took a slight dip, I mean, you still had 95,000 there. I love our fans. Best show, our best fans of college football. Timothy says the orange and white game will have to be more competitive than Saturday's game. Uh, I think it may be a little bit more. Kevin says listen to the podcast after the show. That's all right. Hey, good job, Kevin. Let's see. Timothy says I passed on tickets for this weekend and regret it now that I saw the uniforms. Hey, there's still a few left. There's still some tickets still left. I know Austin Peay returned a bunch of tickets. So, for those who don't know Neyland Stadium, how the seating chart is, the visiting section for at Neyland Stadium is like sections A, sections B, and like double X, I believe. So you're if you're kind of looking in the seating charts, A and B is still available. From what I last checked, depends on where you shop for tickets. I'm in N as in Nancy, so that's where I got mine. But kind of give you an idea if anybody wants any last minute planning to get tickets. I know those are some still available. Of course, in the upper decks and the double letters are always available. just depends on your perspective of it. Oh, Brad said you were mentioned on the podcast talking to Kevin, and he says, "Awesome, thank you." Um, but yeah, the uniforms, I can't wait to see them to Timothy in real life. Um, I remember that somebody leaked out the picture of the jerseys like at a Dick's Sporting Goods a month ago, and I was just like, "Ooh, I don't know about these." But then when I heard the story of why they're doing it, then I'm warmed up to them. Of course, the other fella, David Dees, is not a big fan of the Smoky Grays. I'm fine with them. I enjoy them. But it is what it is. It's what makes Tennessee football great. Timothy says, "I want to see us dog stomp South Carolina this year." And then Brad said just now said, "We will absolutely crush South Carolina. I can't wait." Yeah, I'm seeing how they did Saturday against North Carolina. Uh, I expect us to roll all over them. It's gonna be a rowdy atmosphere. That's gonna be one of the louder games to go to. Um, that's what I don't know. I don't know if you would take the kids necessarily too, but it's gonna be it's gonna be a wild scene, and our founder Brad's gonna be there at that game. Uh, They says, yeah, beat them bad, bad. Brad says, real bad. It probably will be real bad. Uh, I'm excited about that one. But there's some really intriguing games throughout the season coming up. Like I said, that South Carolina game, definitely. Miss K says, can you believe 415 in the band this year? That's the most ever. Wow, love the Pride of the Southland. Yeah, Pride of the Southland band, biggest band in their existing history, 415. Uh, really cool. I can't wait to see that. Um, I mean, that's a lot of people playing Rocky Top at one time, and I love it. Timothy says maybe we didn't deserve, but that game is why we weren't in the CFP. Yes, I 100% agree. I mean that's going to be the big what if from last year. Is like, what if you beat South Carolina? And personally, I think TCU wouldn't have been in the playoff. I think we would have played Michigan in that semifinal just because of the loss to Georgia, and they ended up winning the SEC championship. I mean, who knows? We could have probably played Georgia again. Hopefully, we would have done better than what TCU did, and now they've lost uh, 3 out of their last 4 games. So it's quite interesting. Let's see here. Brad says, "Wonder if Vol Society should set up a tailgate. Would we have people join us?" And then shout out to my mom for the desserts. Yeah, we had a great gathering at David D's at his house on Saturday. Watched the Tennessee Virginia game. Shout out to my mom made the desserts for the tailgate, and Katie, David D's wife. Uh, that really made a great dip for the chips and dip, and like some sausages and cheese, little display. I mean, it was delicious. We were well fed, and thank you for the D's for their hospitality and their entire family. Really cool. Let's see. Phil says, yes, Joe Milton got South Carolina on his mind. Joe might pick up some bird feathers off at South Carolina. Yeah, absolutely. Timothy says, is everyone tired of Coach Prime's high? Like I already am. We talked a lot about Coach Prime on the podcast. I'll say this. I understand the hype of it, and just everybody's talking about him this week. But one thing about Coach Prime, Coach Deion Sanders, head coach at Colorado, you do need these personalities in college football. I know I mentioned this before on the podcast. We've had our issues with Coach Spurrier, with Lane Kiffin, but they've had these over the top players and or over the top personalities. But it draws people to the sport. And I made the comparison to Tony V on the baseball team. He says, "Don't get me wrong, he's done well, but he got 86 out of players out of the portal. Yeah, and that's going to be kind of what I think a lot of ADs are going to look at, Timothy, in the future is like maybe looking at their current head coach that's not really developing out of the transfer portal or taking the transfer portal seriously. And it's like, well, look what Deion Sanders did. He pulled all these players out, and you know, they went out and beat TCU. Which I see your point, Timothy. I'm a traditionalist when it comes to kind of coach the players you got. But Dion is playing what the rules pretty much says. If you want to get players from the transfer portal, get them out, and the way he kind of run them off is controversial in its own way. But hey, he backed it up on Saturday, so it's kind of the new wave of college football. I still prefer it somewhat the old way, and um, maybe me and Dabo is kind of behind of it. I don't know. Uh, but Dabo makes more money than I do, so I'm just a fan. But definitely the story of the week in college football. Brad says it's a new game now. Yeah, definitely is. With NIL and transfer portal and just just the way college football is now, and next year everything changes with realignment, and you got teams in conferences that you would never thought would be there, and it's going to be there. What's up, Dwayne? Watching along, uh, one of our longtime viewers, checking in on us, getting ready for the big game, or getting ready for Austin Peay, and then getting ready for Florida the next week. Timothy says whole new culture for NCAA athletes. Yeah, and I agree there, Timothy. And one of the I'm in a ways I kind of get frustrated with the NCAA athletes sometimes with NIL and stuff they said. I know Caleb Williams' dad came out and talked about he doesn't want his son to be drafted by the Arizona Cardinals, and he may come back to USC. And some of that stuff I just scratch my head on. But with the way college football is changing, especially next year, and you're making these players, fly across country to go play a college football game, or fly across country to play a volleyball game or soccer game, and then they come out like, well, if I'm going to be doing this, I want to be paid a little bit more NIL, and then unfortunately, the media and people's going to look at the athletes like money grabbing, hungry people, and it's like, they kind of make a point. So it's just, you know, the NCAA, it's just a disaster organization, and especially going on with Tez. I think his name's Tez Williams down in North Carolina, trying to just play football and being handcuffed for it, and it's just kind of pick and choose your battles. But Timothy continues on. But overall, Tennessee is excelling in all sports, and it's a great time to be a volunteer. Absolutely, give credit to Danny White, Chancellor Donnie Plowman, President Randy Boyd. We've talked about this on the live stream too, Timothy, in the past. Just 3-4 years ago, it was Game of Thrones, backstabbing, he said, she said, this and that. You don't have that anymore. All those people are now gone. Um, it's a family atmosphere. It's a good culture atmosphere. Danny White is a great leader, great athletic director. And you're seeing all the sports excel with football, basketball, both men's and women's, baseball, softball, tennis, swimming and diving. I mean, just doing just marvelous works, and Danny White's a part of it. Continues on, whether we want him to admit it or not, we can thank Johnny Manziel for NIL. Yeah. I mean, Manziel's a part of it. You could probably even go back in the 80s with SMU and the whole Pony Express, paying players underneath the table. So I mean, there's a lot of dominoes that fell to get where we are today. And for NIL, I'm happy for the players reaping in some of the benefits. I'm happy that they can do like autograph signings, meet and greets, and Brew McCoy's doing something fantastic with his NIL deal. And not everybody is a bad guy in the NIL when it comes to athletes. You're going to have some bad apples that's going to ruin it. It's just, kind of like, in life and in work. And you just kind of have those bad seeds that just come along and ruin a good thing for everyone from time to time. But not everyone is bad. Miss K says nothing like being a Vol. Absolutely. Best team ever. Best organization ever. Any other questions or comments? So we're going up. We're going up right now against the Chiefs and the Lions, and got a few of you watching, so I appreciate it. Really, really grateful for y'all. 41,000 on Vol Society now on our Facebook page, continuing to grow. Uh, so excited about that. Last week's show was one of our, well, it was the most regular season watch show ever. Came very close to our Tennessee Alabama post game show, which it's kind of an impromptu live stream, and everybody came on and celebrated that. But we had a lot of comments and questions, and y'all continue to bring the energy tonight. So let's continue it on here. While we're on here, any questions or comments, predictions, score predictions, season predictions? Like I said, this is part of your show. This is not just me. I do enough talking throughout the week with the podcast and Tailgate Thursday. So, like I said, this is your chance to be heard, and I'm kind of your voice of the comments, if you will. Timothy says Vol Society needs a TikTok account. Yeah, I think Brad's probably got some dance moves he can work out and get that going. No, I'm just kidding. Phil says, "Thank you, David, for Vol Society." Well, I appreciate it, Phil. There's other people like Brad and David D is part of it too, and many others, and just you, Phil, just being a part of it. We thank you for letting us to do this, and we're grateful to bring this content to you across the social media platforms and here on this live stream. We're grateful for you. Um, I'm grateful we can do this every day. Even like I said, we're just regular people who have regular jobs. Like I said, this is it's a hobby, but we enjoy doing it. Any other questions, comments? Uh, slight slight bit of a change here. Not anything dramatic, but Tennessee basketball released their SEC schedule. The Lady Vols released theirs yesterday, and the guys released their SEC schedules today. So now the whole schedules for both men and women basketball teams are available. So I know a lot of Tennessee fans go to basketball games on the weekends. So give you a heads up, Tennessee will have 5 Saturday home basketball games in 2024, and then the Lady Vols will have 4 Sunday home games. And like I said, I can't remember off the top of my head who all those games are. But if you're making any plans early next year to go watch some basketball and rather go on the weekends, Tennessee men have 5 home games on Saturdays. Lady Vols have a 4 on Sunday. I know they got a Monday game like against Arkansas. So to give you a heads up, their schedule is on the Vol Society Facebook page if you want to check that out, both the men's and women's SEC schedules. And once we get closer to basketball, we'll post a full schedule, and of course we'll do previews and that. But just give you a heads up, that's kind of the other news going on today outside of football. Let's see. Miss K says you are the best. Thank you, Miss K. Are any of those back to back like men's or women's? I have to go back and look that up, Timothy. I was just looking for me personally, like seeing which games were Saturdays and Sundays, but I didn't see if any of them was like a double header weekend. I'll have to kind of go back and look it up there. But yeah, it would be a great weekend. Miss K says we always miss Pat Summitt. Absolutely, living legend. And then Phil says, "How do you see Tennessee basketball this year?" I'm excited for both teams. As far as the men goes, I'm happy to see Josiah Jordan James back, Santiago Vescovi back. Uh, just kind of building some leadership right there. I'm interested to see how the bigs are going to do. Not having Euros. Euros has decided to go play pro overseas, so we wish him the best. Who's going to kind of take over in the middle? That's kind of a little bit my concern. Olivier Comwa is transferred to Michigan, so to me, the playing in the paint, those guys in the paint, that's what I'm a little concerned with as far as the guys go. The Lady Vols, excited to see continuing their improvement. Tamara Key will be back. Rakia Jackson's back. I want to see Sarah Puckett step up big. So Lady Vols, I'm excited to see. I think this will be Kelly's best team she's had up there. Uh, and the men, like I said, excited to have James and Vesca be back, but like I said, just concerns a little bit with who's going to be that center and kind of the rest of playing in the paint. As I know Tennessee's going to be great defensively, but still need to get some offensive improvement. But excited about that. Um, but yeah, we talked a little Tennessee basketball there. Thank you, Phil, for the question. Um, and it's September, but we're still got a great football team. We're not like well, actually all the big blue schools did very well this weekend. So not much to complain about. Any other questions or comments? Like I said, Tennessee and Austin Peay coming up on Saturday. Uh, I expect Tennessee to shut them out. I'm going 55-0. I expect to see a lot of your backups to play in the second half. It's going to be pretty much a scrimmage for the most part. I mean, there's some really good college football games in general this weekend. You got Texas and Alabama playing at 7 o'clock, so 2 hours after our game gets going. It's going to be a big time matchup in Tuscaloosa. You got Colorado playing Nebraska at noon, which will be 10 a.m. their time. So more Dion coverage for you. North Carolina's playing Appalachian State on Saturday. So, North Carolina coming off that big win against South Carolina. If you're looking for kind of an upset alert game, there you go. Appalachian State's kind of been the giant killers. And we talked a lot about that on Tailgate Thursday earlier today, pre-recorded. But yeah, not much really going on. Like I said, just get through this game, and then we'll be at Gator Hater Week, which we are going to have a lot of great content coming up. Gator Hater Week, the week we play Florida on Vols, it's our big celebration on Vols Society. This will be really, I guess, the third year in a row we've kind of done this, maybe, or fourth year since Vols Society's now 4 years old. But like I said, we're going to have big week coming up. We'll have Josh Heupel's press conference on Monday, so you can watch along on your lunch break or wherever is convenient for you. Podcast will be out that week. We're going to talk a lot about Florida coming up next week. We'll have this live stream back on Tuesday night. We moved it to Thursday due to Labor Day and our founder traveling back to Charlotte. So we had to shuffle the schedule around, but it was all good. But we'll kind of be back to our normal schedule. I'll do another Tailgate Thursday episode and some other cool content coming up for Gator Hater Week coming up next week. As far as this weekend goes, I will be at the Tennessee Austin Peay game, so I will bring some exclusive coverage on our Facebook page in the Facebook story. So keep an eye out on them. Hopefully, cell service is a lot better this time this year than it was last year. They says it is. So I will bring some coverage for that coming up on Saturday. Since he gets ready to take on the Governors of Austin Peay. Miss K says, well, I already dread when it's Alabama and Georgia time and it's a away game plus Kentucky. Oh my, let's do it, Vols. Yeah, Alabama and Georgia is going to be tough. Tough games, especially Bama being away. Kentucky also away game, but I feel more confident about us matching up with Kentucky than with Alabama and Georgia. But it's still going to be a lot of fun. And as always, let's do it, Vols. Any other questions or comments while we're on here tonight? What in the world? Sounds going on outside and distracted me here. Sound like somebody was jackknifing down the road there. Anyways. All right, I guess we'll go ahead and kind of wrap it up here tonight. Thank you for joining us on Vols Society Live. Like I said, we'll do this live stream next Tuesday night, back on our regular scheduled programming time as we are in the midst of Gator Hater Week. Like I said, just kind of recapping here. I will be at the Tennessee-Austin Peay game, bringing some exclusive content on Saturday. And then we will have Gator Hater Week going strong. We'll have a big-time podcast. Thank you, Kevin. Don't forget, follow our social media pages. And while you're on the Facebook page, click that little Shop Now button. Buy you a t-shirt, buy you a hoodie, a hat, a water bottle, cell phone case that has exclusive Vol Society, the exclusive Vol Society logo on it, and support us if you can. Be greatly appreciated to us. Also, the podcast, Good Old Rocky Top, is available right now. Episode 2, Season 2 is available right now. We previewed this, well, had a very small preview of the Austin Peay game, but it's available on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon podcast platforms. And yeah, each and every week we're going to drop a new episode during the 2023 season. Once again, give our shout outs on our Facebook page to Sherry, Kent, my mom, Mr. Ryan Hughes, one of our podcast guests back in the day, Joe, Kevin, James, and Chris, once again, for leaving us a like on the Facebook page. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you for joining us on Vols Society Live. We'll talk to y'all next week. Until next time, have a great night and go Vols.